I
Hold
wasn't cool.
on. I need to interrupt you. You were shy?
Oh my gosh. Becoming an actor actually changed like who I am as an individual. My first few audition experiences were I would like go to the audition. There were multiple where I went to the audition and you can back in the day we did it in real life. Sometimes now it's just through tape, but you can hear the other people doing things like acting. And there was like a horror movie I was auditioning for, and you had to like peek through a hole, and then the monster grabs your eye and rips your eyeball out. So then you have to like scream on the floor and like roll around in agony. And I was like, oh, I can't do that. I will feel so like self-conscious and I'll just feel dumb. And so I left.
Welcome, friends. I am so grateful that you're here today with me on Quick Before You Forget, which is a personal development podcast about building your unreal life from the ground up using music, mindset, and movement to remember who you are while becoming who you want to be. Today, I am here. I am honored. I am hyped to welcome Brent Bailey, who you may recognize and know and love as Kris K from Target, but there's a lot more to the story. Born in Tucson and raised between Texas and Arizona, Brent Bailey came to Hollywood with intention, armed with a master's in business and a long game mindset to go along with it. You've seen him more times than you realize. From nearly 150 commercials for brands like Hertz, Clorox, and Shell, to standout roles in film and television, including LBJ, The Idea of You, and The Lincoln Lawyer. Brent's here today because his career sits at the intersection of creativity, reinvention, and staying power. And we're talking about what it really takes to evolve, stay grounded, and keep building when the path is not linear. Brent, welcome to Quick Before You Forget.
Thank you. Wow, that was an amazing intro.
Thank you
Nice
so much.
job.
Thank you. I appreciate it. So today we're here to talk through your story, past, present, and future. So first, let's go back.
All right.
What is a childhood memory that you have that shaped who you are today?
Oh my gosh. We're starting just with the heavy question. That's tough to like narrow it down to one. I mean, obviously, I think not to be like cheesy, but my like watching my parents and like their relationship and how they treated other people, I think shaped me as an individual for life. They were just always such good people that treated everybody kindly. My dad was an incredibly hard worker that started as like a tire tech at Discount Tire and then worked his way up to senior vice president. So I was just kind of taught from a young age that work ethic and being nice to people is just kind of common sense. And so thankfully that carried on.
What is something you said your dad worked hard and he
Oh
had,
yeah.
what lessons did you learn from that effort that he put in when you were watching him as say you were a 12-year-old boy watching your dad do the hard work? What's your takeaway from that?
I think it was a couple things. I mean, one of the things that I think I learned quickly was that nothing comes easy. If you want something, you have to, really go for it. If you go half-assed on it, then the chances are you're probably not going to succeed. And I think that's something a lot of us do is we don't ever fully commit to something. So that way, if you do somehow fail, you have an excuse because you can be like, well, I didn't fully try. So I almost think we do that as like a built-in insurance. But then I think the other side of it is just seeing what you want. I saw what he wanted. I knew he wanted more success. I knew he wanted a better life for us. And so I think, kind of like the law of attraction, where he like visualized where he wanted to be in 10 years and set goals. And that taught me very much at an early age, especially when I started acting. Like I made goals every year of like, all right, this year I want to try to get a co-star in a national commercial. And like next year I want to get this. And then to go with those goals, then you set up your plan. I was like, so I need to take acting classes. I need some great headshots. I need to network and get a great manager and agent. And so I think just watching him build his career and also watching my mom gave me all the tools that I needed to try to, make my own success.
So I heard you set some goals and
Yeah.
that there's this thing about goals. We have this idea and that we're working towards something, and that's really special. And life happens. Like
Mhm.
stuff happens and there's setbacks and there's struggle on your way to those goals. So as you've been working through what it looks like to do the hard work and to set the goals and work toward them, what is a setback that you saw as something that happened for you rather than to you?
I mean, I think, obviously in this business, and I think in life in general for everybody, that there's always going to be setbacks. If you somehow have the absolute gift that you try something and it just happens easy and nothing goes wrong, then congratulations, that's incredible. I almost think that's a bad thing because with all the setbacks and with all the failures, you learn so much and you grow and evolve. And then when you actually get to where you wanted to be, or at least in a place where you're getting closer to where you want to be, because I feel like that goalpost is always moving. I think Matthew McConaughey says it in a speech, like you never actually arrive at your goal and you're done. The goalpost keeps moving. So I think if you get there too easily, it starts to become very easy to take it for granted and to not really appreciate it as much, rather than if you have to work hard, then when you do get there, you're so much more excited. And I think for me, there's been lots of them. I mean, in this business, there's constant rejection. I mean, everybody does get to see that I'm so grateful that I do work very often. But for every job that people see me on, I probably got 50 no's somewhere else. It's a tough town. It's a tough business. It has an immense amount of hurdles. And it's basically, I've signed up for a career with constant rejection and always being told, like, you don't have enough. And you're like, all right. So you just keep pushing forward.
So, part of what I'm talking through on this podcast is how to work with your mindset and how to train your mind to work through those kinds of things. And in the career you're in, you said like the rejection is real and it happens and it's just part of it. But how do you do that? Like like for everyday people that don't act and aren't necessarily facing that kind of rejection on a daily basis, we could learn from how resilient somebody that does acting and has to work through all that rejection, how that resilience comes to life in what you do and how you practice that every day. So if you had to back up and kind of 30,000 foot level tell a friend who just got rejected and isn't as used to it as you might be, what kind of tools do you use in your head to work through those rejections so that you're at a level where it's just kind of something you can work with?
I mean, I think the harder part of that, because it's a whole other obstacle, but you have to be happy with your life. You have to be happy with who you are as a person. You have to surround yourself with like friends and family, or a partner that you really enjoy spending time with. And then there's other areas, especially when it comes to acting, finances. Like you have to be smart with your finances. When you do get that job where you make some money, people have a tendency to like up their lifestyle and go buy like a fancy car or something that, like, listen, you obviously celebrate your wins, but if you increase your spending so quickly and you don't sustain that working, now you're in this crisis mode of, oh my gosh, every no seems so much worse because I don't know if I'm going to be able to pay my rent this month. So I think for me, that was where the master's in business came in handy. Is I was always really smart financially, so that way the pressure of making money wasn't as big of a deal. And then I'm also just so grateful that I'm happy in life, and I'm so happy with my girlfriend. We have a wonderful dog. My parents are amazing. So it makes the nose on the career not as terrible because they don't, my career doesn't define me. It's just something I really enjoy doing. And I also don't take it as like a personal ego hit. And I think there's enough work to go around. And I go, okay, great, I didn't get that, but somebody else is so excited because they just got that job. And then on the next one, it'll be my turn. And like, we don't always have to win everything. We can share. So I think I just make my mentality that it's good for somebody else and they're really happy, which makes me happy. And that even though you're going to get 100 no's, when you get that one yes, it's still going to feel awesome.
That is so true. And that is such an abundant way to think about it. Just thinking as it benefits other folks and not, there's somebody out there that's having the best day of their life. Every single day you're having a bad one. And isn't that something to be grateful for actually? And it all happens through a village too. You said, your the people that you surround yourself with matter and they all play into your story. So thank you for sharing that. You did mention learning from setbacks, and that makes me wonder. And I kind of almost want to double click there on what is a set. Can you walk us through a setback that you've had specifically that you learned like a replicable lesson from for people?
I mean, yeah, it's a great question. I think what the hard part with this business too is there's so many different avenues you can go. So there is like the commercial world, there's TV and film, there's theater, there's like soap operas. Like there's so many different routes that you can go that kind of shape your career in a different way. And I have been so lucky to do both, but I have done so many commercials that sometimes people do go, "Oh, you're just the commercial guy." And I did have an agent way back in the day where I was testing for a soap opera, but the money was unfortunately going to be so much less than I was making with doing both TV and film and commercial. And so I passed on it. And because of that, I got dropped by the agent. And I was totally blindsided by that. And I didn't see it coming. But that did kind of just teach me that I have to make sure that I communicate that like my overall goals, how this is going to benefit both parties. And also it did make me rethink things a little bit in the sense of like, what do I want? Like, do I just want to do commercials forever? Do I want to go do more film? Do I like just doing TV movies? And so it kind of just gives you a moment to check in and say, where am I at now? Where do I want to be in the future? And then you can kind of go from there. And I think you almost need those little setbacks to remind you, like, hey, I need to check in with myself and just make sure I'm okay with this path I'm on so that you don't end up, 50 years down the road and be like, oh man, I should have thought about that earlier. So I think that's where the benefits of the either like reminders or setbacks have been for me is just to put myself in check and make sure I'm still doing what I want to do.
So let's talk the wins then. Because you said, we've talked about like the not so fun parts. What's been
Yeah.
a really fun, exciting moment that you celebrated a win?
I've had so, I mean, again, I'm so lucky and I don't want to sound cheesy, but I've had so many wins. Playing Santa, even though like some people hate it, some people love it, it was like one of the most fun jobs I've ever had because I'm typically more of like a straight actor. I just kind of play myself. And with Kris, I got to be this character and I got to have so much fun. And I got to play with so many of the people on set with improv. Like it was just an absolute blast, more than I think I even realized it would be. And then I also like the messages that do come in and like meeting you, it's all such a wonderful experience. So that would just be one example. But like, I just worked with Tom Brady. Who doesn't want to meet Tom Brady? That guy is incredible. And you're like, you've accomplished so much in your life. This like, it's weird to be sharing a room with you. Or when I mean, I guess it's always like people motivated. Like I loved working with Anne Hathaway. Um, I got to do that movie LBJ with Rob Reiner, who unfortunately has passed away, and that is like a moment that I extremely cherish because I'm so lucky to have been able to not only met him but to like have spent time with him and been directed by him. So yeah, it's tough. The wins I think gratefully and thankfully have continued, and I don't know why they've decided to let me keep working so much, but I'm very excited about it.
We all are. So you
Yeah.
gotta keep going. Goodness gracious. You said something that is my love language, which is people. You said,
Yeah.
the thing that makes you enjoy celebrating the wins is the people. And that brings me back to a more of a reflective place where I want to know who is a person, a transition figure in your life for good, somebody that you learned a lesson from, or somebody that believed in you or saw you or made you feel seen when you needed it, who really changed your life and the trajectory of your life.
I think it's obviously a ton of people, my parents being the biggest ones. And then if you're just going into actually like the career, it's usually just my friends that I'm surrounded by or people that I look up to. Maybe I don't even know them. Like I see Glenn Powell lately and I have so much respect for him. And I am like such a big fan rooting for his career, even though he doesn't know who I am. But there's like so many people where I'm like, oh, or like Ashton Kutcher, like he's got a new show coming out, and I saw the billboard and I was like, yes, this guy's making a like, not that he needs a comeback. He's like a multi-billionaire from being a genius entrepreneur, but it's those kind of things where I think I have like my role models, I guess is a better way to say that. And then also like I've got an acting coach named John Rosenfeld who is like such a big supporter who makes me want to try harder, like always keeps pushing me. And then watching the people in class, like when they win, it makes me want to try harder. So I think it all sort of revolves around the community of watching everybody else succeed, which makes me excited. And then is also trying hard to keep up with all that.
That's you said something really cool there about being a fan. So I have this image of being a fangirl in my head where I tend to fangirl over things that I care about, over things that I
Yeah.
love, over music and songs and different books that I love. And I do that because I know what it takes to create something, and it takes a lot of emotional energy, and I want to share something that brings me that kind of peace and happiness and joy with whoever will have it, right? So what you
Sure.
said about fanning over, I think you said Ashton Kutcher was one of them, and it just I feel seen in that, and I wanted to say thank you because we think about transition figures as people, like your parents, and that's an obvious choice, or maybe a teacher or something, but you don't always get to meet the people that inspire you, and it's
Right.
cool when you get to call them out on something like this and say, yes, this person's doing something really cool. And I think being a fangirl is a superpower, because I think that the people that find ways to elevate and spotlight the hard work and energy and effort that's going on behind the scenes, with, because yes, like you said, Ashton's done a lot of amazing things, and he's made some good impact in the world, and he's a genius, creative person, and he's a human being, and
Totally.
and a lot of effort and a lot of energy and a lot of soul goes into that stuff. So whether or not they ever know that they have impacted us, it's cool to have the just to think about, a star, a Kris K, a Target Santa is just like Ty Schmidt, who looks up to people and is inspired by people that we don't always get to meet. It's
Yeah.
cool, and I look up to you, and I'm inspired by you, and I'm grateful for the chance to even talk with you today, which honestly feels unreal to me, and yet here we are, and I'm just so grateful. So,
Of
um,
course.
let's go
Happy to be
back.
here.
I'm just having so much fun. So thank you. I want to go back to the question I had about the version of you in the past. We talked about the childhood memory, and I want to know, like, because you've lived this life that's very exciting, and there's been good, there's been bad, but what would you, if you had the chance to go back and talk to your 22-year-old self, what would you say?
That's such an interesting age you picked because that's exactly when I became an actor. Was at 22. So I mean, I think, well, that's so hard because part of me wants to go back and be like, hey, don't worry, it's all going to work out. But I almost wonder if that would be detrimental because I think part of the not knowing makes me try so much harder. I almost feel like the tough part about like knowing the future is you can almost become complacent or you can do things now because you have that information that actually alters your path. So I don't know that I would say anything. I think I would just want to go back and observe and be like, man, who was I back then? Because it was so long ago, and be more of a fly on the wall. I mean, obviously, I'd be like, hey, buy some Bitcoin. um, but
Make
yeah,
different investments, right?
yeah, but then again, even if I did that, like that changes everything. I mean, that's the whole like butterfly effect. So that'd be tough. I think I would, if I could go back and like see my prior self. I know this isn't even the question, but I've altered it. But I think I would just go back and observe and just like really appreciate where I was then, because then it would make me appreciate where I am now even more.
That is not an answer I expected at all. And I'm so
Oh,
grateful for it. Like, honestly, like, you just want to see it. You just want to live it again.
yeah.
Honestly. And that's
And
amazing to
that
me.
comes from a place I've always, I mean, listen, everybody's different. Anytime anybody's ever got been like, hey, what would you go back and change? I always go nothing. Because if I go back and change something, what's the goal? I'm so happy right now. What if what I change now makes it where I'm not happy? And like, I don't think I'm going to be happier because of something I've changed in the past, because it's shaped who I am as an individual and it's brought me to this exact point. So
Right.
for me, I'm like, no, I've learned from everything, whether good or bad. And some of it's been hard, but like, that's what life is. If you skip all the hard stuff, I don't even feel like you get to become like a full individual.
Right.
So I always just say nothing. I take all of it for what it was, and this whole life is an experience. And if I'm happy now, then great. If I did start changing the answer and saying there's something I would want to change, then I think it would make me check in more with my current self and say, what's wrong? What's wrong? Why aren't you happy? why do you need to change something from the past? And at that point, then it's like, well, then why worry about the past? Change something now so that in 10 years you can be like, man, I'm glad I made that change because now I'm so much happier.
Speaking of your present self, I wanted to talk with you about the opportunity that we're going to make up. It's like it's we're playing pretend here. So think about in this present moment, because we are grateful for what we have in this present moment. What one message would you communicate to the world if you had a megaphone and you knew that everybody was listening?
Oh gosh, so many things. I feel like we overcomplicate this, which is causing like the divide that we have. And I feel like if we could just take it back to the basic principles of like be nice. Like I wish we could go back to like if you don't have anything nice to say nothing at all.
Amen.
Wish that people didn't feel like I feel like there's three sides, even though that makes no sense. There's like one extreme, the other extreme, and then there's this huge population that I think is actually living in the middle. And everybody's just so scared to say anything because they don't want to get in trouble, they don't want to get canceled, they don't want to get judged by both of the extremes. And but I do think the majority of the people really do live in the middle where we are just human beings that want the best for everybody. And I think that's getting a little bit overshadowed, unfortunately, by terrible things that are happening in the world, but also just by people that are enjoying making things into massive fights. And so I wish we could all just drop our guards a bit, like our defenses, and be like, hey, we all agree we want this place to be better. Let's figure out how to do it instead of fighting. Because when has it ever resulted in like a positive outcome with fighting? It just, I mean, I get that sometimes you have to yell at people, but at the same time, we've just stopped listening. Everybody just yells at everybody else. Nobody listens anymore. And I think more people agree than we realize on being good humans. So I hope we can find our way back to that. And unfortunately, as much as social media and the internet has brought so many wonderful opportunities, it's also created this like echo chamber and also the ability for so many fake things to be put out that just reinforce whatever stance you've taken and like it's almost designed to make you angrier and to make you more upset with the world. And it's tough. We're in a weird spot. I fear for the future. My girlfriend and I even talk about this with like having a kid. Like I would love to have a kid. I think we will, but I'm terrified of like what that future world looks like. I'm hoping that's just something every generation goes through. Like my parents hopefully felt that way too. But
Should
yeah,
ask
it's
them. You should ask
I
your
know.
parents.
Yeah, I'll ask.
Might be surprised by the answer, honestly. So
Yeah.
you said something about listening, and that makes me want to double down on that because I think a lot of us have a lot to say, and I really want this podcast even to be a platform for people to share their stories. But how do you become a better listener? Like, how do we collectively be better listeners for people?
I mean, I think first of all, and I'm a relatively stubborn person, but I part of it is like dropping our egos and like just hearing people. Like we don't I don't know why anybody thinks that I think there's like 9 billion people on the planet or something. I don't know why anybody thinks we're all going to agree on everything or anything for that matter. But I do think that we all are built with like basic fundamental principles on like how to live and what is right and what is wrong. So if we can just get past you totally agreeing with everything I'm saying and just get on that baseline of like let's all be kind, then I think that's a good start. But there's this thing called like confirmation bias, and so like you decide on what you've decided, and then you just go search the internet to find something that backs up your view, and you're like, yeah, that's so easy to do. But maybe just think of things from another person's perspective, like step outside of your shoes for a second. Um, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the solution is. I think a lot of people are trying to find the solution to this, and it's tough. But yeah, I think, asking questions, doing things like this, watching interviews, reading books, learning different perspectives, studying different religions, like opening your mind to a world outside of your own, just so you can better understand somebody else seems to be like the good start. But I understand we're all busy and everybody's got things to do, and it's tough.
It is, but it doesn't have to be because every
Mhm.
every every one of us gets to choose every day, right? We get to choose. We get to honestly sometimes just close your mouth, count to 10, let the other person finish what they're saying. It's not rocket science. It feels so ethereal sometimes, but really, honestly, it's not.
And I get in trouble for this a lot because I've obviously gone to therapy. I think therapy should, that's probably a dangerous thing to say, but I think therapy should basically be required at some point in your life because it's just a good idea to have like a sounding board, have a professional to talk to. We all have moments of crisis and like chaos, so it's never a bad idea. And I hate that it's like this. Luckily, it's gotten better. I think when I was a kid, I was even afraid to tell my parents that I went to therapy because I thought that meant that there's something was wrong with me. And I was like, no, I just needed to talk. Like, I think, first of all, as much as we need to listen, I do think we need people to be able to talk because I think that's where these outbursts and like these rage incidents happen. But oh gosh, now where was I going on this? Oh, so sometimes I have learned because I do this to myself, even if I'm having a bad day, I call it like putting things in perspective, but I there's another word for it where it's like invalidating your feelings. But I'm like, listen, yes, it like that's such a bummer you got rear-ended today. Somebody else's parents died today, or somebody else lost a child, or in another country, somebody just got bombed. Like we got to put things into perspective because it's so easy to go doom and gloom on your own life. But if you put things into like a macro, you're like, oh my gosh, my problems are so small. And especially with me being in Los Angeles and being an actor, like you boohoo, you lost a job, somebody else, like you can't get down on that stuff. And I know that that's sort of dangerous, but that's how I usually get past most things. Is I just go like, even as my worst day is still better than somebody else's best day, and I think that has helped me a lot. But yeah, I don't know. Like it's tricky.
You can validate the feeling without diminishing it, right? You can feel the
Yeah.
feelings and work through that without
Like,
having it be, not as, apples and oranges situation. But, it
yeah.
reminds me of I broke my phone in August, and I was so sad. I was heartbroken because I dropped my phone in the hot tub, and, first world problems, first of all, but then also a month later, our house flooded. And like we had 4 inches of water in our basement, and we ended up having about $60,000 worth of damage to our
Oh, no.
house. And I'll tell you, did that shift my perspective about my broken phone?
Right.
Yes. Yes. In real time, I thought, gee, I thought I had it so hard having that little phone be broken when really, like, my house is still in, we're still in transition because that's what you do. You work through it and you find a way. But it's fascinating. Perspective matters. And
Oh,
that's a very good piece of advice for people just to keep in mind. You said your worst day, or your best day, worst day. That line you said was very good. So I'll have to go back and clip that line because that was awesome. So thank you.
yeah, of
Um,
course.
I am wondering to take it to a little bit of a happier place. I'm wondering what is something unreal that's happened to you or for you or in your life, like walk me through an unreal moment and what you gained or learned or benefited from it.
I mean, I think the fact that I'm even here talking to you and that I am an actor is an unreal moment for me because I had no intentions of being an actor. I was a very, very shy computer nerd, and that's what I went to school for. I was a computer programmer. I
Hold
wasn't fluent.
on, I need to interrupt you. You were shy.
Oh my gosh. Becoming an actor actually changed like who I am as an individual. My first few audition experiences were I would like go to the audition. There were multiple where I went to the audition and you can back in the day we did it in real life. Sometimes now it's just through tape, but you can hear the other people doing things like acting. And there was like a horror movie I was auditioning for, and you had to like peek through a hole, and then the monster grabs your eye and rips your eyeball out. So then you have to like scream on the floor and like roll around in agony. And I was like, oh, I can't do that. I will feel so like self-conscious and I'll just feel dumb. And so I left. I would not like if I was out at a bar or something, I didn't talk to people. I had like a very, very small group of friends in high school. I just was very introverted. I kept to myself, and I had no real social skills other than like, if my parents' friends came over, I was very polite and respectful. But when I switched into being an actor, it like shifted my entire personality into a different person. And it gave me so much freedom to like have so much more fun and be more myself. as opposed to like this little shell of a person. So I think that is like my biggest change in my life that I'm so grateful for, because I think I'm so much happier now as this human being than I was as the previous.
How did you break through being shy though? Like how did you make that change?
Keep doing it. You just, I mean, it's like there's like UCB, which is an improv school here, and then there's like, stand-up comedians and everything. So I think it's called flappers. So they take business people and regular people that don't want to be actors, and they tell them to take these classes because it like puts you in a really uncomfortable situation, and it makes you grow. And either I guess you quit the class and you decide to go back to who you were, or you're like, oh, like it like sort of demystifies it, makes it a lot less scary, and it also teaches you some tools on how to talk, how to carry on a conversation, like how to yes and so it gives you more skills. And I think that's like how I became less shy was by continuously going out and talking to people and doing these auditions and taking classes and just learning to be more comfortable with myself.
So that's powerful. Like that
Oh,
is, I just need to respect, like, hello, that is an incredible thing that a lot of people can't do. And it's because it's hard. It's because it's uncomfortable. It's because you're walking through the mud and you're on the floor screaming about an eyeball getting ripped out or whatever.
yeah.
No,
Which is
that's
funny because like back in the day, that's like I mean, when I was a kid, like that's what you did. You played pretend, like
right.
run around the backyard like thinking we were like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and like you act ridiculous, which as adults we've now been taught to be like, that's silly, don't do that, like people are going to think you're crazy. But back in the day you didn't worry about that, and so it's almost like weirdly bringing your mind back to like a childlike type of play and like fun. But obviously you do it in the appropriate times. You don't do it in the busy subway in New York or something.
I'm gonna go play Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. That sounds so fun.
I
Good.
know. I briefly watched, I think it was the third, where they like travel through time, like came on TV the other day, and I watched it for a minute. And I also thought, like, man, these, whatever, because I think it's like an animatronic head with a guy inside, but somebody else controls the head and possibly, I think, the voice. And I was like, this was so far beyond its time and so much better than most of the CGI. I wish we could go back to like the practical effects.
There's so much I wish we could go back to, but we can't. But one thing we can go back to, because I took you off course, was your
Yeah.
unreal moment. You know, we veered off talking about how to get through the shyness and the awkwardness and that stuff, which is important for people to know. But also, I cut you off, and I made a promise to myself I wasn't going to do that. But here we are. So, tell me, go back to your unreal moment.
But I think I think we were still in the same world because I think my unreal moment is the day I walked out of my job that I was very comfortable in, and decided to move to Los Angeles to sleep on my buddy's couch, and like what that did for my life. I don't even know today, because even when I go back and think about that, I'm like, wow, that was a bold move. Like I owned a house in Arizona. I just gotten a new job like 2 months prior that I had fought so hard to get. I just finished grad school, and I was like what a crazy thing to do. And I think as much as this is gonna sound bad, and I guess weirdly this is one of those setbacks you were talking about earlier. There was a girl that I had been dating off and on all through high school, and we were off, and she got pregnant with another guy, and that like destroyed me. And so I was like, I need to leave the state. And so because I needed to leave the state, my buddy was in LA and he was an actor, and I was like, I've always been curious, but I've never actually thought I could. But I think I just wanted to get out of Arizona so bad that because of that, that's why I ended up going. So weirdly, that was like an awful moment in my life that pivoted my life into a place that I'm at now, which is I'm so grateful for. So I guess that's probably a better example of something bad that's happened that's ended up turning out really good.
Well, you turned pain into purpose. And
Totally.
that is a beautiful thing that, you found your way too in a time when you could have, it was like a sink or swim moment, and
Right.
you fully removed yourself from the situation and jumped in another lake. So that's impressive, sir.
Yeah. Luckily, this like wasn't like filled with piranhas, and it turned out fine. But yeah, it was scary too.
You never know. And that's a possibility too, right?
Yeah.
And we learn from all of it. So we've talked a lot about mindset and what we learn from experience and what we learn from people. I want to talk a little bit about music because music reaches, I think it was in Stranger Things, the last season, there was a line about how music reaches parts of your brain that words can't. And it's so true because there's lyrics and then there's like just the physicality of the beats and the rhythm and all of that is just so restorative for so many people. So I want to know that there's a couple different levels of this. There's the songs that you turn to in hard times, and there's the songs that you turn to cheer yourself up, and then there's the songs that you kind of happy. They're like the happy moment times. You take this wherever you want to go, but I really want to put together a little, you know, what is Brent Bailey's playlist for the song of survival? What's Brent Bailey's playlist for a moment when things are rough,
Yeah.
and then what's another one where like when things are good and you're celebrating?
Don't hate me, but I am so not picky when it comes to music. I don't have like
I could
go-to.
not hate you.
Oh, that's good news. Uh, yeah, I don't have go-to songs. I'm definitely probably a crazy person and the type that just like when I get in the car, now it's I've evolved a bit so my car actually has CarPlay. So now I go to Spotify, but I just say like play classic rock and then it just plays. And since now there's no ads, I don't ever change the channel. It just goes. Back in the day, I would turn on the radio and I would just let it play until an ad came on, and then I would change the station and I would just go to another one. I'm so easy when it comes to music, but I also, and this drives my girlfriend crazy, I don't need anything. I don't need noises. So sometimes I'm just in utter silence, and sometimes I'll drive like a 6 hour drive in silence. And I sort of love it. I love just like the peace and quiet. Sometimes I'll have the radio just a little bit on, so it's like very faint. And she's like, if you can't hear that, I either need you to turn it up or turn it off. But yeah, I don't know what my answer would be to those. I love music. I have a really weird skill where I won't even know the artist or the name of the song, but I can tell you exactly what movie it played in at what point in the movie.
That
And I don't
is.
know why that is. I can be like, oh yeah, this was in Wedding Crashers, but I couldn't tell you who sings it or what the song is or the words of the song. And so I don't know why my brain can make that association so quickly. Um,
It's fascinating.
but yeah, it's a weird little party trick, I suppose. Um, yeah, I have no idea.
I err on the side of your girlfriend. I like the noise. I like a little bit of I actually soundtrack my life. So I tend to have different
like a
music
playlist
for
for the day.
literally like a playlist. Yeah. I got into riding roller coasters in the last couple of years, and I have done 50 of them in 2 years, and every single roller people, and I shouldn't probably have my AirPods in because like if it were to fly out, it would probably hurt somebody. But I always have an AirPod in, and I usually play a specific song depending on the day and whatever else. And this is weird thing, but it helps ground me when I'm doing something scary because I hated roller coasters. It was 2023. I did my very first one at Dollywood, and I thought I was gonna die. Like it was called Thunderhead, and you should. Oh my gosh, I should show you the picture. It's. I'll put the picture in the show notes because it's that funny. But
Okay.
it's helped me work through fear, and music has actually like somehow soundtracking on the roller coasters has just been this very healing and restorative thing for me. But also live music. I feel, when music, movement, and mindset come together, my soul feels at peace, and my body is not at peace. My body is doing things that I don't understand how it's possible. Like I was at a concert in November, and the jumping that happens, I'm like, how I'm not I try to be fit, I try to stay healthy, but I'm not like a super active human. So the amount of the jumping is something to see. But your answer is fine, and it's interesting to me that you are the second human I've talked to today, and my husband falls into this category too, where you do just like the peace. And
Yeah.
there's nothing wrong with that. You just like the stillness and being honestly being present in the moment. And we could truly like we could use more of that. So you don't have to apologize, and I wouldn't hate you for that answer. That's a very good answer. So and more of us need to find comfort in inside. We don't need to always have that noise.
I love my favorite noises are this is gonna sound so dumb, but like I love the sound of like car tires on gravel. And I love the sound of like if we go camping, like the sound of the fire. Like
Mm.
those are the sounds that I really, really like.
That
And
does
then
not sound you. What word did you use? That sounds amazing.
okay, good. Yeah, I don't know if those are called like just ambient sounds, I guess,
Yeah.
but or the waves. Like if we ever get a place, like we go to Cabo a lot, and we'll get a place on the beach. Like I love sleeping with the door open so you can hear the waves. Like I like those types of sounds.
Nature sounds too. Like you're grounded in nature, and that's again a healing and restorative sound that you're feeling peace by. That's good. That's a good thing. So
Yeah.
um so to get to we've talked a little past, talked a little present, let's talk a little
Yeah.
future. This is a harder one, but my thought is, I have so much respect for a man who's passed away. His name was Dave Hollis, and he had in his book he wrote about his 80th birthday and what he wanted that to look like and how he wanted the people he wanted there and the legacy that he wanted to leave. And this sad thing happened where he passed away, and then suddenly abruptly, and it happened maybe 2 years ago, but he passed away, and then a bunch of us got on a Zoom call. It was about 200 people from all kinds of walks of life, and we had this like kind of like memorial service tribute to him, and everybody said the kindest things. And I just wished that he could have heard. Like I wished he could have been there. And I of course, I have faith and I believe that he was there in his way. But we need to say more of it out loud before it's too late. And I feel this way about the people we care about, but I also feel it about ourselves because I'm a huge believer and advocate for self love and the importance of really just it's not self-serving to love on yourself. Like you need that because then the more you love on yourself, it just overflows into the world around you. So my 80-year-old birthday situation for you, if you're sitting there with your friends and family on your 80th birthday, what do you want them to be saying
About me or just in
about
the room?
you or in the room, or how everything about it? What do you want it to look like? What do you want it to sound like? And what do you want them to say about you?
Um, when I'm 80, so we're talking 38 years from now.
Don't do the math.
Well,
Sounds
I was
like you're
thinking,
setting a time clock on yourself. Don't do that.
well, I was just thinking, like, if I'm 80, like, if I do have a kid the next couple of years, then I'm probably sitting in front of like a 36-year-old small version of me. So I weirdly would want more of the attention to be on him and what, or her, and what they want to accomplish in their life. I think I would want. It's interesting because I'm thinking like, well, who's going to be there that's talking about me that doesn't already know me that we haven't like, my hopefully wife at the time. Unfortunately, like my parents would be passed away, so it'd be like friends that would have been on this journey with me. I want them to be like, man, you had a really cool career. You got to do a lot of cool things in life, and I would hope that whoever my child is would be like, there's this really cool video. I don't know if you've seen it. It's like Jackie Chan watching clips of all of his work with his daughter,
I
and then
haven't, but
they
I'm writing it down. We're gonna link that in the show
oh,
notes too. Jackie
you're
Chan.
I mean, if you can watch it without crying, you're a superhero because she's all like not only like in awe and like thinks he's so cool, but then she says like, "Didn't it hurt?" And then he says like so much, and then they both start crying. Uh, I don't know. It's such a weird. I could cry right now. It's such like a weird emotional video that it like that. I think is so cool to have somebody that looks up to you and respects you so much that is your child thinking that what you did in your life not only was like cool, but it meant something and it mattered. And like that's I think the ultimate goal. Um, but I think as long as I'm happy with how my life went too when I turn 80, that'll be enough. I don't need somebody else to tell me that it was all worthwhile, but I think that would be fun.
Love it. So tell me this: the whole purpose of having guests on here, Brent, is particularly the first few. So you were one of the very first few people that I've so honored and so grateful to join me today. You said it was unreal coming on and talking to me. It is unreal having you here. So I am so grateful for you and for your belief and your investment of your time and energy and thoughts into this whole thing today. So this is my thank you. Honestly, this whole episode is my thank you to you for just being honestly more of a transition figure in my life than you're aware of. So I wanted to give you as part of that just a platform and a moment to say what's going on, like what's coming, what should we be aware of, where can people find you, where can people follow you, where can people cheer you on. Just walk us through what's next for Brent.
That's a great question. In my career, you never really know what's next. You know what you've done. So, like, I shot a couple movies back in 2022 that are coming out this year. One of them is called The Huntsman. It comes out on February 10th on demand and digital. And then I have another movie called Dead of Night, which I honestly have no idea where it's going to be, but it's coming out sometime this year. And then I have a really good feeling about this year. I think not only just for me, but I think for my friends and the people that I'm close with, and I think the business in general, and hopefully for all of humanity. But I think it's going to be a great year. I have a meeting tomorrow, which could lead to some new movies. I have a couple different things lined up that maybe would get me involved in the business in a little bit of a different way as more of like an investor too. So I think there's a lot of doors that are opening. And I do feel like I'm at this really cool point in my career where I think there is going to be a big shift. And so I'm excited for what that is. But if you do want to follow along and see if it turns out the way I think it is, I really am only active on Instagram. And it's just my name at Brent M. Bailey, because my name is Brent Michael Bailey. I'm not very active on there. So if you're looking for somebody that posts a lot, I don't do it very much. But I try to post when it matters. I just don't post about like my basic life every day because as much as maybe it would be interesting, I feel like I don't think it's interesting, and so I don't do it. And I also just don't like to have my phone out all the time. I like to live in the moment. So there won't be a lot, but there'll be highlights, and it'll tell you where you can see things that I'm doing. Um, and yeah, I think that's it as far as like professional stuff goes. I'm sure there'll be more commercials. Fingers crossed. Kris gets to come back for year 3, but I have no idea if it will or won't. But yeah, that's it.
Thank you for that, and thank you for being here. Honestly, I think that the last thing that I want to ask is very open ended. So take it for what you want. But what did I not ask that you would want to share?
Oh gosh. Nothing pops like directly into my mind. No, I think you did a great job. I think we talked about this a little bit in like the email before about like planning what we're going to talk about versus not planning. And I love I mean, obviously you have to have some kind of plan. I have done these before where the person like clearly doesn't even know who I am, and you're like, oh, where did I'm? This is going to be that kind of interview. So I think like research and preparation is obviously very important. But I like having like a loose guideline or outline of what we're going to do, and then just seeing kind of where it flows because I think it makes it more authentic, and then you don't get like pre-prepared answers. Um, so yeah, as far as like what else you could have asked, I have no idea. Yeah, then I think usually when people go to like what can I ask that I haven't asked, it always like tends to lean towards like favorites, and I'm a terrible person at favorites. Like, what's your favorite food? And you're like, I don't know. Like, it depends on what I'm in the mood for that night.
I really
Uh,
do want to know your favorite food, though.
I'm so bad at favorites.
Oh,
Like I think if you were like, hey, gun to your head, you have to choose a
we're
meal.
not doing that. How about you have to have like a favorite candy or a favorite beverage or a favorite comfort food or what
My
candy?
mom
Go
makes
ahead.
these noodles that her mom taught to her that we have every Thanksgiving and Christmas, and they're so good. Apparently, back in the day, they used to have a farm and they would get like fresh eggs, and so the noodles, because there's eggs in them, obviously, the noodles would turn out like a really beautiful, like yellowy orange color. And now, unfortunately, I guess that color doesn't exist anymore unless you get a product called like Happy Eggs. And so now she has to add food coloring to make it look the same. But it's like that with like some mashed potatoes is definitely a comfort food. But if I had to go, like, I want something that I really, really, really want, I think I would go like surf and turf, like a really good steak and like lobster and scallops. But
Sounds
I'm so Benihana is one of my favorite restaurants. There's something about the whole experience with like the teppan table and like the volcano and like the beating heart that it gets me every time. I if you ever asked me to go to Benihana, I would be like, where are we go? When? I will be there at the Encino one or the Santa Monica one. Which one are we going to?
We're going to the Milwaukee one when you're in Milwaukee.
The Milwaukee one, a pretty good one.
I haven't been, but I will go with you when you're here. So that's the plan.
You've never been to a Benihana ever?
Ever.
Oh, man. I mean, listen, you're going to have an upset stomach because it's just part of Benihana, but it's really good.
It's so worth it.
I mean,
oh my gosh.
Arguable.
On that note, Brent Bailey, thank you for being here today. If you're seeing this, you're my friend. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate that you took time out of your day to spend with little old me. I would love to hear from you. I actually don't. This part is uncomfortable for me. Just talking like this is uncomfortable for me. Somehow more so than this. But I've practiced that. I have the TikTok and I do the things. And this is harder. So please talk to me. Find me on social. Tell me what you thought. Tell me what you think. Tell me what questions you have or what guests you want to see. I want this to feel like you're part of this because you are. You mean something to me, and I'm so grateful. So if you would be so kind as to go and give me a review and some stars and just let me know what you're thinking. I would really appreciate it. And I'd love to see you back here anytime to help you remember who you are while you build who you're meant to be. Quick, before you forget.